Reddit, what is the biggest lie you have ever told and how long did you keep it going? I got married 4 years ago. There's this guy at work who's one of those people. The type that keep asking you when you're planning on having a baby once you're married. Since we didn't really have much in common and he heard I got married, that's the only thing he could come up with to start a conversation. It was just water cooler banter. I kept telling him when the time is right, but he still kept asking me every time I ran into him. So, any kids on the way? Hey, expecting any time soon? Any plans on having a baby? I got sick of it. One day I just told him, yes, she's pregnant, we're having a boy. I figured it would shut him up. I was so wrong. Jacob is 2 years old now, he started teething, he said his first word, he keeps us up at night and he doesn't exist. I've told my wife about this and she thinks I'm an idiot. At this point, there's no looking back. This is the perfect opportunity to just deny all knowledge of your kid ever existing. If the guy asks about your kid, just say, who, and play it off as you have never had a kid. The guy will assume he is losing his mind. What? What are you talking about? I never had a kid. Please do this, and then come back here and tell us how he reacted. Or if you wanna go a morbid route and really make him feel uncomfortable to talk to you ever again, you can just tell him the next time he asks how the kid is, We lost Jacob this weekend. Doubt he'll be able to gossip that to anyone, and he surely will leave you alone for having been so annoying. So, when are you having another kid? Friend of mine pretended to be left-handed to switch his seat in class so he could sit next to this cute thin blonde girl that smells like strawberries that was actually left-handed. He learned to write left-handed and even switched hands for sports. He did this from 9th grade until we graduated. They are still going and he is ambidextrous now. I did something similar, but learned how to J off lefty and painted my nails to pretend it was her hand. Bro, high five. With your right hand please. My parents wanted me to be in an activity in high school. I pretended to be in choir from 9th grade 12th grade. I even had a choir robe given to me that I would dress up in and actually leave the house whenever there was a choir performance, just finding someplace to hide, usually in an alleyway near my school. One day, my mom came to see the choir perform. After the show, she said she didn't see me up there singing, but I swore I was up there. She probably just didn't look hard enough. I also told her my name wasn't in the program because of a misprint. I still can't believe she bought that. I did end up getting busted though, just before I graduated during a parent-teacher conference. My parents were not happy. They were so angry that they said they wouldn't even punish me, as this behavior went beyond punishment and I'd just have to live my life knowing how much I'd let them down. It worked because, obviously, I've never forgotten it. That's awesome, you got away with it. They were so angry that they said they wouldn't even punish me, as this behavior went beyond punishment and I'd just have to live my life knowing how much I'd let them down. It worked because, obviously, I've never forgotten it. Yeah, that's not getting away with it. That's worse than any punishment. Lie. I'll do it tomorrow. Duration. Birth. Current. Yesterday you said tomorrow, so just do it. I worked at a Harry Potter exhibit for 4 months, all the props and costumes from the movies. It was an intense interview, audition process, and the entire thing was conducted in a British accent. To preserve authenticity, we all had to be in accent all the time. I warmed up my accent at a coffee shop every morning, and one morning the barista got really excited and said, "Where are you from?" London? I have family in London. We got to talking and when I had to leave she said we should hang out. I thought she was cool so we exchanged numbers and then the panic set in. If she called me, she'd hear my American accent on my voicemail and think I was a freak. So I called her. I got her voicemail. "Hey, oh, I'm not actually British, this is my job, blah blah blah." So basically the lie lasted 0 minutes. I did not hear back from her. I was walking down the street a few weeks later and someone waved at me from a street away. Turned out it was her. She said she'd gotten my message but her phone had been stolen. She asked me to hang out, read my tarot cards, and I never saw her again. I expect her face to be the last thing I see before I die. That last line killed me. Doubt her phone was stolen, she just was trying to make a cover story for not calling back. I failed my MSc, Master of Science. I really shouldn't have done that particular subject and ended up getting a postgraduate diploma. I lied and got a job saying I have the master's degree. After we changed which group we belonged to at work, my new manager brought me into his office and asked me if I have a master's degree. I assumed I was going to be fired after he said that I was on the wrong pay grade and then proceeded to tell HR to give me more money. I got a 17% pay rise. For the months between him speaking to me and getting my pay rise, my heart sank every time he looked mad at his computer, which he regularly does. I felt bad because he was a really good manager. Edit. Just so you all know, I don't work there anymore, haven't for years. I am now a house husband. Just whip one up in MS Paint. Stick some word art on it, and some legit sounding text. This Master's Award is presented to LaLaLala11 for services to educatin' and whatnot. It'd be better to make one in MSC Paint. ISNT that some sort of fraud? Cheeky fraud with the lads. In elementary school I told everyone that I was allergic to bees so that when a bee came near me and I ran away their thought was, it's a life and death situation, not that guy afraid of bees. I moved away in middle school, maybe 4 years later, and didn't retell the lie because I had overcome my fear of bees. Plot twist. You actually are allergic, you just won't know until it's too late. I've been pretending to be a functioning person for 20-odd years now. What about the even years? He can't even. Remember Tom Green and how he had that bout with testicular cancer? That was a popular topic of discussion during the first half of my freshman year of high school since he hyped it up so much in his show that people actually watched for some reason. Anyway, I really didn't feel like going to school really ever, so fast forward to Monday the week before Xmas break was gonna start. For some reason, I thought I'd lie and tell my mom that the Tom Green thing had made me paranoid, so I gave myself a self-exam and thought I felt a lump. To get out of school. Don't ask me why I didn't just go with a stomach ache or something. So mom freaks out, calls around a bit, and before I know it I'm sitting in a urologist's office. So I figure, I go through with it, say oops I was scared, head home and play video games the rest of the day. Turned out though that there was a lump. Mom freaked out some more and the next day we went for a second opinion. After both doctors basically said they could only guess whether it was benign or malignant and that the only way to be 100% safe or know for sure would be to remove my right nut. I somehow never really got that worried about it since the situation was pretty clear-cut, and if it were cancerous the best thing to do would be to remove it anyway. So in the end it came out that Friday and turned out to be benign, so the whole thing was technically for no reason. But yeah, I got the whole week off, making my Xmas break 3+ weeks long, so I'd call it a win. Parents still don't know, and that was 1999. Edit. To clarify, the right nut was indeed removed. No, they definitely weren't kidding with me. Urologist pointed out where the lump was, and sure enough I could feel it, just hadn't bothered to give him a thorough squeeze before fabricating the whole thing. So you traded your nut for a week off school? Worth. My Asian friend and I have been telling people that we're siblings for 4 years. I'm white. They believe us. To be fair, so many adopted children are Asians adopted into white families, so people are probably assuming that you're adoptive siblings and just not questioning it. I am in the exact opposite situation. I'm white and I have an adopted sister who was born in China. Most people don't believe me the first time I tell them. And people like you are the reason why. Actually, now that I think about it, we did also tell some people that an unrelated Indian friend of ours was our cousin, so it might be a little bit my fault too. When I was 17 I dated a 26-year-old. For our entire relationship, about a year and a half. We convinced his parents I was 19, and convinced my parents he was 20. It wasn't too hard to keep it up, especially because none of our parents had Facebooks. But there was a little dodging involved. For example, when I turned 18, his mom baked me a cake and I had to tell her I hated birthday candles. I really love birthday candles. Closing parenthesis. Why not tell both sets of parents you were 20 and just keep it consistent? Lying 101 man. IDK man, I guess to try and delay the possibility of his parents taking me drinking when I turned 21? That sure would be a sticky situation. Also, how do 26-year-olds meet 17-year-olds? I feel like there was something fishy going on here. In college I skipped an English class for essentially the full semester. I was stoned for most of college and made bad decisions like this unfortunately often. While I was skipping, the original instructor had a heart attack and was replaced. Right before finals I went to the replacement and explained that the reason why I was absent for pretty much the entire semester was because I had mono. She took pity on me and allowed me to write a couple papers to make up for my extended absence, and I passed with a C. Because I had mono. One of your ears stopped working? Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger, smiley face. I told people at my Catholic high school that I was Jewish. This went on for a little longer than it should have. I ended up having people dropping change on the floor to test if I'd look or pick it up. Someone bought me a Star of David pendant and I wore it all of the time. Well, that was super racist of them. But hey, free money. Found the Jew. When I met my girlfriend, I told her I smoked because I thought it'd make me look cooler. Yes, I know it's a dumb thing to say, and that I would stop if she didn't like it. 3.5 years later and she still thinks I quit for her. I feel bad whenever the topic comes up and she tells me how proud she is of me, but it's gone on for so long I just gotta smile and say, it was nothing. It actually was nothing, lol. This was a few years ago when I was working on newly built LNG gas carriers. During the morning 12 to 4 bridge watch, I somehow ended up chatting about ghosts and things with the Filipino watchkeeper. In the course of this conversation, he mentioned that some of the guys on board had noticed some strange happenings, suggesting the vessel we are on was in some way haunted. I don't know why I did this, but I decided there was a chance for some lols, so totally deadpan I told him that during the construction of the accommodation, I was in the shipyard during the latter stages of construction, which gave me more credibility here. A section of the accommodation block collapsed, killing 3 Korean shipyard workers, and that this happened around C deck, which is of course the deck all the crew stay on. Welp, the fuse was lit. The watchkeeper passed on this information to the rest of the crew, all Filipino and superstitious. Within the week, ghost sightings were happening daily, and most of the crew had opted to buddy up and sleep in each other's cabins to avoid being alone at night. One particular cabin had been earmarked as the most haunted, so the crew stopped staying in the adjacent cabins. I was starting to get concerned by this situation. Even I was getting scared of the ghosts, and I was the one that made them up. Things rapidly got out of hand. I couldn't backtrack from the lie or the crew would kill me, yet some crew members had started grumbling about wanting to sign off to avoid the ghosts, which would have serious ramifications for their careers. I was stuck in a tough spot. Luckily, the chief cook fancied himself as a pastor. He carried out a full exorcism of the vessel, and overnight the problem vanished. This was a week before we were due in port. Massive buggering relief. I've since left that particular company, but it is my understanding that some choice pages from the Bible have been stashed in the deckhead plating of one particular cabin to continuously ward off the restless spirits of those non-existent dead Koreans. So many memories, so many lies. This one is the best because I'm fairly white. I was with some friends in Peru. They lived there because of work. I was visiting for some months because I took a gap year. Being not so bad in English, I decided to become Canadian so I could teach in an English school without the EELS or Cambridge certificate, whatever I needed. I was a Canadian from Calgary, even tried to do the accent. I thought American, but no, too much info that I may be asked by an Peruvian American citizen, British, Scottish or Australian was too hard, so it was a liberal from Canada. Worked for 2 months. It was very fun. They would compliment me on my Spanish. In the end, I'm just a Mexican who knows English. It started when I was 15. I got my first girlfriend. We had a fight. I thought I was going to lose her unless something traumatic happened. So being a smart 15-year-old male, I faked a head injury and concussion, went to her with mom, got scanned, they said I looked fine, of course. Went home, girlfriend called to break it off that night, but mom answered while I was asleep, told GF about incident, girlfriend dreams, comes over and takes care of me, blah blah. Fast forward to 18, having major migraines and other health issues. Get multiple MRIs and contrast scans. They find a mass on the side I lied about getting hit on years before. I continue the lie since mom was with me, telling them I had an trauma on that side. They do another contrast, dismiss it as a non-specific, most likely scar tissue. Now 22. Major pressure on that side of head was sudden onset. Causes ear pain and muscle spasms inside of face. Too afraid to talk to a doctor and get a new scan. Still holding on to it because I can't tell my mom it was all lie for a girl I dated shortly in high school. Edit. Because of the concern and mostly the natural selection comments, I scheduled an appointment with my doctor for next Monday. Thank you assholes for helping me realize there's ways to deal with this. What is wrong with you? Go to the doctor. You don't even have to admit to the lie. Go get that checked out. I once told my dad that I chopped down his cherry tree. In truth, my girlfriend, Betsy Ross, did it. My dad still thinks it was me. I was an illegal immigrant for most of my life. Had to lie a lot to people, including my entire high school, when I said I wasn't going to college because I wasn't sure it was for me. Truth was, I knew I wouldn't be able to get financial aid and couldn't afford it, plus I wasn't even sure I could get into one. Luckily my dad remarried, got his citizenship and was able to sponsor me, so eventually I did end up going to college. Where are you from? I see so many snippets of your life here that I feel I almost know you. Nice try, immigration agency. I don't love, appreciate or like my grandparents, so when I'm asked, I tell people I no longer have grandparents. I've done this for the last 6 years. Alpha friend of mine has a running lie going with the hairdressers. How he first time he went in there they thought he sounded American and asked if he was from there. His brain ZT have massively trolled him at that point as he replied yes. Now every time he gets his hair cut he has to talk about how much he misses America and how different England is whilst ulling off a terrible accent. It's been like 4 years. He's in too deep, and at the end of each haircut he is obliged to start clapping loudly whilst hollering, "Good job. Good job." Everything I tell my hairdresser is a lie. It started 1 year with her asking if I was seeing my mum on Mother's Day. We haven't spoken in years as we have a very toxic dysfunctional family, and I don't want to share the details with strangers, so I said no, she lives abroad. The next appointment I told her she lives in Cyprus, we visit often, there's a pool. 4 years later I have a whole different life. It's hard keeping track of it. I'm tempted to find another hairdresser but she's the only one who doesn't leave brassy roots. It wasn't too long that I kept the deception going. My wife is an immigrant from the Philippines and I used to get her goat by telling whoppers. She had been raised in a conservative Catholic Philippine family and I'd been raised in a slightly more raucous Lutheran household. When we first got married, my wife was anxious to learn about my religious upbringing. "Baked potato," she asked me one day, "does the Lutheran Church have holidays?" Sensing an opportunity, I embellished. "Sure thing," I lied, "it's the third Sunday in August today, as a matter of fact." "It's the quickening." "The quickening?" she asked, "what happens then?" "Martin Luther comes back in his spaceship and brings presents." I thought for sure my wife would see through the deception, but she apparently believed this for most of the morning. I think I ruined Lutheranism for her. That Michael Jackson used my bathroom. He didn't really. Nobody honestly believed me. But his sister did. She did believe I've used the bathroom? I'm reading through this thread and thinking, man, these are all really minor. I think I might have a problem. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe.